Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. First of all, very exciting news. We hit 500,000 subscribers. I don't even know how. I really didn't think it was ever gonna happen, but we did it. Seriously, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. You not only have subscribed, but I feel like there have been so many more comments and there's been a lot of likes and you guys have just been very engaged. So thank you. I don't know what else to say. I really appreciate it. But also a lot of the subscribers have just been in the last few weeks, which makes me think that it's because you guys are enjoying the story time so much, which is fine. I have another one today. This one's gonna be from high school. I don't think I've done high school yet. I do have a few, but honestly, high school I feel like is kind of a blur. It was so long ago now, I'm so old. Anyway, today's story is going to be the time my friend got grounded for 3 months for throwing me my 17th birthday party. She didn't really throw it for me. It was kind of like we threw it at her house. It was, well, should we begin? It happened in, I guess it was 2006. I think it was for my 17th birthday, but we did it maybe a little before. We are still friends, believe it or not. We didn't start drinking until like 16. I was gonna say 16 or 17, but it was definitely 16 because this was my 17th birthday. I will also add, I've mentioned in past videos, I'm from Westlake Village / Thousand Oaks. I say both of them because it's confusing. If you're from there, you understand. It's technically, I think, 2 different cities, but Westlake feels like it's just kind of part of Thousand Oaks. It's almost like a neighborhood of Thousand Oaks, not like a different city, but it is a different city. Anyway, not important at all. Let's just say the party scene in Westlake and Thousand Oaks is minimal. It's funny because now there's actually a bunch of really nice like breweries and wine places. It's all gorgeous. I would move back there in a second. It's very expensive and I can't afford it, but you know, details. If you go back to 2006, there's pretty much nothing. It's like neighborhoods, shopping centers, a mall, which is a shopping center, but you know, like strip malls, you know the difference. There was basically nothing to do. I feel like Jack in the Box was the only place open past 10 p.m. Once we started drinking and you are like looking for parties to go to, most of our time was spent congregating in parking lots while we would all wait for someone to get a text of some party, hopefully in the area that we could all go to. But the key here is there was never multiple parties. It was never like, where should we go first? Which party should we choose? It was like, there's one thing going on. We better go there quick before the cops go. It's just, it was families, neighborhoods. It wasn't a place that you could have a bunch of house parties. Literally, usually 30 minutes after the party started, the cops were there. This will all come into play later. But so my 17th birthday is approaching, and my friend, who is the one that will be receiving all of the punishment for this entire situation, I talked to her earlier. We're gonna call her Janet because I asked her and she was like, yeah, maybe don't use my name. I would hope her new job wouldn't really care what she did when she was 17, but I'm going to respect her wishes. So Janet, I've known since 3rd grade. I'm also going to blur her face in these pictures, so it's going to be funny, but this will just show how long we've been friends, because here she is in all of my photos. Very close with her family as well. Our group of 4 friends that were super close, we would always joke that her parents liked us more than her. But so they go out of town one week. I think the reason there weren't that many parties and stuff going on in Westlake and Thousand Oaks is because the parents didn't leave that often. And if they did, they definitely weren't leaving the kids totally unsupervised. We were 16, hadn't been drinking that long. I don't even really know if our parents knew that we drank that much. I mean, my mom did because I had gotten caught after, not caught, I wouldn't say. My sister just exposed me the day after she got me drunk. I've told this story somewhere before. But even my mom, I don't think she thought I was drinking like every weekend, which I don't think we were, but regardless. I don't know if Janet's parents thought we were gonna be drinking or if they knew we ever had drank before, but regardless, they felt confident enough in us that they were gonna not only leave the house, they also knew my birthday was coming up. And I believe it was even their initial suggestion that we have a few people over to celebrate because we'll have the house to ourselves. Why not? That'd be so fun. For Lil's birthday, go ahead. It'd be great. Well, we really ran with that suggestion. Janet's parents leave. I don't even remember where they were going. It was definitely like far enough away that it wasn't like they were gonna come back. It wasn't gonna be like a movie moment where it's like, oh my God, the trip got canceled. We'll be there in 15. But something that we did take into account, but not nearly enough, is that one of her best family friends lived right around the corner. So she was watching the house like a hawk. We knew this, and so before we even get to that part, I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, her parents go to leave. They suggest that we can have this get together. By get together, they mean like our group of 4 friends and then like a few others. 10 people max. We start putting together a guest list. This guest list had over 75 people on it. I've also talked in videos before. Megan always jokes and says that I was popular, and I always argue, and I'm like, I don't think I was popular. It was that I was friends with a lot of people in different groups. But that was actually the biggest flaw to this guest list. It would include different people from different groups, but not necessarily the whole group because I wasn't friends with all of them. But as I mentioned earlier, there aren't a lot of parties in Westlake and Thousand Oaks, and everyone is together waiting for that one text or call. I'm like, did we have texting? We did. They're waiting for that text of being like, come to this party. It's not like they're gonna be like, oh, actually, I have a party to go to. It was a party. And people were talking about it because we had told people about it like a week earlier. So it wasn't like a last minute thing that no one could find out about and we could have people kind of like secretly show up. It was like everyone had been talking about it for a week and like everyone was planning on coming, and we knew it was gonna be a disaster. But then our solution, because we knew too many people were gonna show up, was that I was going to tell all the people we invited, I was gonna reiterate, you can't bring anyone because you can't. And our backup insurance policy was going to be that we had security bouncers, aka my two friends that were football players. Which, as far as bouncers go for high school parties, I would say football players are definitely the way to go. The thing about having bouncers, though, is that you need to, make sure they actually are manning the door and making sure that people don't come in. It gets a little hard to make sure they're gonna do that when Janet, the one whose house it is, gets drunk very early and decides to tell them, just let everyone in. You guys, the guest list had 75 people. Imagine everyone on that guest list came and then brought at least one person. I just remember it started so tame. We were pre-gaming. I do have some pictures. I don't have a ton because they were on my MySpace and I can't access my old MySpace, but it's sad because like there's a bunch of pictures and every like 5, there's one that just won't load, and I looked it up on MySpace's thing and it says that means that it's gone. So I am gonna look on my other computers and see if I can find some other ones, but basically we have this like nice little pre-game with just some of our closer friends. This is so relevant to the story, but I just think it's funny. Specifically, I so vividly remember eating those McDonald's Cinemelts. Do you guys remember those? They don't exist anymore, but they're so fucking good, and I was obsessed with them until this night, and I never ate them again afterwards because it was rough. Anyway, friends started showing up, and I remember at first it was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I think this can be under control. This is fine. Like, 2 people would come at a time. There was like 30 people there. We were having the best time ever. Because now we finally weren't stressed that it was gonna be so out of control. It was like, oh, maybe people aren't even gonna show up and it's just gonna be like 30 of us. That'd be fine. Within not even another 15 minutes, people just start showing up. And because there weren't that many people there in the beginning, I think that's when Janet decided like,
okay, like a few more will be fine.
Yes, well, Janet had gotten really drunk during our casual pregame. I had gotten really drunk during the casual pregame as well. The picture I can't find is me literally like before the party starts. And then it's like mid-party and it's me just like cheesing so hard, just clutching a 5th of Captain Morgan, which apparently at one point my friend found me wandering around the neighborhood just holding it because I had been going out to direct people where to park streets away because that was how we were gonna get around her neighbors seeing that she was having a party. Is just not having people park on the street. That doesn't really work when you have 150 people at the house. Cars aren't really the problem. So honestly, I think it lasted until probably 11 before this neighbor comes over and just busts in the house and starts just screaming at people. That part was straight out of a movie. It was insane. And meanwhile, poor Janet, at this point, there are so many people inside the house and she is standing on the bar just screaming like, please everyone leave. And no one is listening to her. At this point, it's not only our friends, it's like our entire class, the entire senior class, probably some of the sophomores too. And it's funny because we can all pinpoint when it got the most out of control. A senior that lived directly behind her came over with all of his friends and they carried a beer pong table in, and that was just from there. There was no turning back. We have lost control. No one has it. The control is gone. What are we gonna do? Ironically, that's one of my friends that went to Arizona State with me too. The one that walked in with the beer pong table. I don't remember at this point if I was like, fuck it, and just like trying to enjoy myself, or if I was panicking as well. The rest of my friends, I think, were just living their dreams. And I do think the neighbor was able to get the majority of the people out, but she had already called the cops, of course. So then the cops show up and they're searching the house because also I feel like standard like Westlake party is that everyone like tries tries to like close the curtains and pretend that nothing's happening and then hope that the cop just goes away, because technically if you don't open the door, they can't come in. The neighbor opened the door for the cop, so he came on in. Then they searched the entire house with flashlights, kicked everyone out, because also we had planned on having a lot of people sleep there. A lot of people slept in their cars just in the neighborhood because they had nowhere else to go. Oh, it sounds so much worse when I say it now. Yeah, so we sat on the stairs. The cops finished searching. The neighbor waited as that happened as well. And then she told me that I had to get picked up. Obviously, I was not gonna call my mom, so I called my sister, who actually had, I'm pretty sure, supplied us with all the alcohol for the entire evening as well. She was 3 years older, so she was 20. I don't think we told my mom right away. And then even when we did tell my mom, I technically didn't do anything wrong, so I never got in trouble. But let's just say when Janet's parents got home, they were not thrilled. Not only because we had this party where 150 people showed up, the cops came and it was a huge disaster and they like kind of trashed the house. As people were leaving, when the cops were kicking everyone out, a few of the guys, and I don't think we ever actually figured out who this was. Did we? Like, it was a lot of drama around it, but I don't know if we actually figured it out. But a few of the guys, as they were leaving when the cops kicked everyone out, decided that they were gonna take some party favors and souvenirs, and they went into the bar area and stole a bunch of her dad's like really expensive alcohol. Specifically, I'm pretty sure it was something like his college graduation, like a bunch of their friends had signed it or something that was like irreplaceable. Her dad also had a huge DVD collection. A lot of those went missing as well. Screens from the windows had been like thrown in the pool. Oh, this house wasn't that big. Like, it was a decent size. It was a 4-bedroom home for a family. It could not fit 150 people comfortably at all. And she was all on board with all of this, by the way. This wasn't me being like, can I use your house to throw a party? Janet was down. And I do remember her being like, oh, that kind of feels like a lot of people. And we were like, yeah, but do you think they'll all come? Like, I don't know. They all came. But basically, like, even 75 people was gonna be a lot for her house. And we were gonna try and keep the upstairs totally roped off. Thinking about it now, like, the fact that we even thought we could invite 75 people was a fucking joke. And that we thought that her neighbor wouldn't see because we were gonna have people park around the corner. I will say, the good thing is, I found out in Arizona very quickly once I got to school that police give out MIPs or MICs, which are minor in possession or minor in consumption. I had never heard of that before because anytime a party got broken up in Westlake / Thousand Oaks, it was just like, go home. Usually everyone had a DD, so everyone would pile in that person's car, or you would call your older sibling. But overall, I can think of very, very few parties where the police did not break it up by like one at the very latest. This was an early one. It was fun while it lasted. I remember when everyone started piling in, I was freaking out and I felt so guilty. Go to the guys that were supposed to like be, you know, manning the door and making sure that didn't happen. And they were like, Janet told us it was fine. And I go to Janet and she was like, fuck it, just let everyone in. Janet is so gone at this point. She should not have been making decisions. But, you know, it was Janet's house, Janet's call. I went with Janet's decision. Probably shouldn't have. An example of how drunk Janet was at this point, one of our friends that was manning the door had apparently asked her for a flashlight, which she goes to get and then comes back and handed him a bottle of soy sauce. So, things were bound to go bad. So in the end, I don't think in Westlake at least that the cops do anything. Again, in Arizona, they'll give all the minors tickets, but usually they'll find the person whose house it is, or they'll like put some kind of warning on it. So then if they have another party, then they do get a huge, huge fine. Usually, I think, especially if it was the kids that threw the party and the cops are like, I'm not going to find the parents because the kids were irresponsible. The parents don't need to suffer anymore. Their house is trashed. We'll just break up the party and leave. So legally, there were no repercussions. But Janet felt the wrath of her parents once they returned. When I thought about doing this story time, I reached out to my friend and I was like, how long were you grounded for? And she was like, 3 months. And I was the only one that got in trouble. And I remember that as well. But I remember my mom being like, well, I mean, you didn't throw it at our house. And when I asked my friend, I confirmed with her and she said it was 3 months she was grounded. I thought it was longer than that. But I guess if it happened in like March, then she probably was grounded, I think, the rest of the school year. And they stuck to it, I think, for a while. We would visit her during her lockdown because her parents did love us so much and because we'd known them for like our entire lives. We would show up and we'd hang out for a little bit and then they'd entertain it for like 5 minutes. Then they'd be like, you need to leave. They were very serious about this grounding, and I think they were just as pissed at us. But eventually the air all cleared, everyone was forgiven, and it's something we all laugh about now. I don't know if her parents are really laughing, but we are. Anyway, I think that's it for that story. Let me know in the comments below. How about for this one, any crazy story from like a house party in high school? Preferably at your house, but like if it's something like this where you were heavily involved, but it was at a friend's house, that's fine too. Okay, now time for the comments. I'm so excited that I'm doing this now just because it's been keeping me so entertained. If you're unfamiliar, my new plan is that each video I'm going to read comments from the last video and then ask for ones that I'm going to read in the next one. So for example, last video I did was my childhood celebrity experiences. So on that video, I asked you guys to comment with your craziest ones below. So I have a few of those I'm gonna read. And then on this one, I want you to comment your craziest house party story, preferably if it was at your house or a very close friend's. But here's your guys' childhood experiences. I'm gonna try to usually just pick one, but there was a couple of good ones and I just couldn't decide. The Willow Steel.
When I was around 13 years old, my family and I met Justin Bieber. This was back when he was just falling out of his prime and started to get into all of that trouble. I live about 30 minutes away from his hometown Stratford, Ontario, and his second movie Believe was about to come out on Christmas Day. So after we all opened our presents, we decided to drive down to Stratford and watch the opening show. Also, all of us were holding out hope he would come because he had posted on Instagram that he was home for the holidays. So we get to the theater and the trailers are playing before the movie, and all of a sudden he walks into the theater with his friends and family. This theater had maybe 20 people in it because it was so small, but everyone was screaming. We all got photos with him and he even posted a group photo onto his Instagram. He then stayed and watched the movie with us. It was a moment I will never forget.
I love that. That's so sweet. I'm gonna try and find the group picture. I wouldn't ever forget that either. That would have been my dream for that to happen. I really wanted it to happen when the Katy Perry documentary was coming out. That's really cool. I feel like I remember when he was doing that. Guys, this next one, I lost my shit because I was so jealous. This would have been so cool. Tom Biden shared.
So where I grew up and still live in London is kinda the equivalent of Thousand Oaks by the sound of it. So one day I'm over hanging out with my bud and he remembers that he's supposed to go and hang out with his neighbor's daughter, who has said that if I'm still around, I can come hang out too. So I did. And that's how I ended up sitting eating pizza with Richard E. Grant and his family.
I had to Google who that was, but I saw it and immediately was like, oh my God, that guy was in Spice World.
Shortly after that, he was filming Spice World.
See?
And we got to watch the filming of a concert scene and were hanging out in his trailer when the freaking Spice Girls appeared to say hi to us all and give us hugs. Mel B kissed me on the cheek. One of the adults made a, "Oh, never wash that cheek, wink wink" type comment, but my little gay heart felt like I'd just been knighted by the queen.
You could have ended that story with that you just got to see the concert scene. Like that would have been really cool. Then you got to meet them. I loved the Spice Girls so much, and I've told this story so many times, I feel like maybe not on my channel. I wanted to go to the Spice Girls reunion concert so badly. It's actually ironically around, I think I was 17, maybe 18. It was closer, no, I think it was 17. Well, anyway, they did that reunion tour years ago and I wanted to go so bad. And then last minute, my mom was like, I don't know if I want you going to Staples Center alone. This was like months before I'm going to college. And I'm like, Mother, I'm about to go to the biggest party school in the country. I think I can handle a Spice Girls concert at the Staples Center. I'm like, who do you think the crowd there is gonna be? It's gonna be a bunch of girls like my age. What are you talking about? She's like, I don't know, downtown LA, it's just not that safe. And it's like, I get it, but it's the Spice Girls. I never got to go. She made it up to me later because she got me VIP tickets to Katy Perry. Literally years, I think it was 3 years later. That is how long I held that grudge. But anyway, so because I didn't get to go, I'm just gonna live vicariously through you because this is way cooler than it would have been to even go to the reunion concert. My little gay heart felt like I'd just been knighted by the queen. I mean, close. Okay, last one to wrap things up. This one I was just laughing so hard because it was so unexpected. I'm like reading it thinking one thing is gonna happen and then it just took a turn. Rachel Danzig says,
I'm so jealous you met Lori Beth. My mom had sex with a security guard at 98 Degrees meetup at a Staples, which I obviously didn't know then and found that out much later.
I would hope so.
We skipped the miles-long line of people and got to hug Nick and Drew Lachey. Then we got to see them the next night.
I would love to know how you found out. How did that conversation come up? Like, remember that one time? That is so funny. I'm also curious, what did you think was going on then? You just like got special treatment for, they had just like picked you randomly and that you were getting to get the line? Or like, did you think your mom knew someone, you just didn't know how well? Oh my God, those are amazing. And this is my new favorite thing and that I'm definitely gonna keep doing. So again, please leave me your best house party story below and don't make things up. I want true stories. Anyway, go check out my celebrity videos if you haven't already. I have 2 up now. Those comments were on my childhood celebrity experiences, but then I also had one that was just my best and worst, which has some doozies in there. I also have a bunch more. I just keep writing down other random ones. They're much shorter. They're not like long stories, but it's just like I casually ran into this person or I got to go to this. If you want a little preview of some of those, they include Lauren Conrad, E40, Jay Leno, Joe Jonas, Demi Lovato, Dwight Howard, Aaron Carter was another one, Zac Efron. I met in an elevator one time. You guys, that's a great story. I just like this video if you want to see that. Hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. Thank you for watching. And thank you again for 500,000 subscribers. That's so exciting. Here's 2 million.